Folks at home, welcome back to the backyard bass pond. Hope you all had a Merry Christmas, and if you watched our last video, you saw that we had our first blue heron stop by. He sat right here on this perch, walked all the way around the pond, harassed our bass for a little while. And Milo eventually ran him off. I thought we were all good, but I started noticing that Clyde would not come out of his cave. And I was even watching on our underwater cameras right here. Nighttime, daytime, it didn't matter. So I actually even ended up having to take my skimmer net and poke it down in there just to make sure he was alive. But it had me worried because I didn't think he would act like that after a heron coming by one time, so I started doing a lot of research on him. You can see Bonnie hiding out down there up under the lilies, or what's left of them. But I found out that herons could actually hunt at night. So I went back on my security camera up here and I was looking to see if the blue heron had made it back. And unfortunately, it did come back. So we're about to roll some of that footage. But if you didn't watch the first part where the blue heron came out, I recommend watching it first and then coming back to this video. Now here he is flying in from the left, and the sad thing is I was actually inside the house editing the last heron video at this exact moment, and I never knew that he was out there at the pond. Since this bird first showed up in the yard, I have done hours and hours of research on it, and they really are fascinating how smart a blue heron is. But the thing that really scares me is I went to see how big of a fish a heron could actually eat, and they can eat fish much bigger than Bonnie and Clyde. There's a bunch of videos on YouTube that show them eating giant koi. There's one bass that I saw that was looked like he was 2.5 to 3 pounds. But if you care to watch any of those videos, just search them on YouTube. It really is shocking the way that they eat a fish that big. But the other thing that I was extremely surprised about is how smart they are and their hunting techniques. So I learned a lot about their hunting techniques. One thing is that they can eat 3 nights out of the month. So the night of the full moon, the night before the full moon, and the night after the full moon, they have enough light to where they can see and eat your fish at night. So that's one thing we got to worry about. The second thing that you have to worry about is once they stalk the fish in the pond and they can't get to them, they have techniques that I've never seen other birds do. They will actually regurgitate their food, kind of like chumming the water, to get the fish to come up there to them, and then they'll attack. And then they also use this statue technique to where they can sit in the exact same position and not move for 45 minutes to an hour and wait on that fish to think that there's not a threat around. And that's something I've definitely seen right out here on this big rock. So I got hundreds of comments in the last video about potential things that you could do to get rid of a heron or to keep them from coming around. Probably the most common one was to put a heron decoy out. They said that they're single feeders and that if they see another heron's already eaten out of that hole. The problem is these birds are so smart, if they don't ever see that that heron's moving around, they'll know that it's fake and they'll come right back. I don't know if the fish came up to him or if the fish was just sitting there on the surface, but right here, it looks like he almost got the fish. Now let's go find out if we can see what happened from the underwater angles. Oh, so Clyde was actually down in the deep end and saw the heron and shot up over to his cave. Ooh, that was a close call. The heron did go in after him, but Clyde was a little too fast. There were also, other comments about putting owls or coyotes out there. The one problem I have with the heron decoy is that during their mating season, it will actually attract other herons in, and that's the last thing I want to do, is let more herons find our fish. So the decoy could work for a little while, but it's not a good permanent solution. But the one thing that I did notice is once I blew up the snowman and left the Christmas lights on, so far I haven't seen him come back. So I think that any kind of motion lights and things like that also help out. I don't know that it's a permanent solution either. A lot of people also said, get an outside dog. That's probably not going to happen. But there's one solution that I found that seems to work. It's not 100% because the heron are smart and they'll eventually get around it, but it seems to work really good, and that is a motion detected sprinkler system. We're going to talk about that here a little bit later in the video. Now, another popular comment was to take fishing line and wrap it around the outer perimeter of the pond and kind of use it as like a trip hazard, but I watched too many videos where they just walked right through the fishing line and got in the pond anyways. And then a lot of you also said to put a net over the pond, and that one would probably work. I hadn't seen any issues with putting a net in the pond, but I'm in and out of it so often, I feel like it would just kind of become a nuisance for us. And then now he flew off. As far as I know, nothing really scared him off. He flew off on his own. One thing I did, temporary solution, I left the Christmas lights and all the blow-ups and everything on. I've got that other little laser light sitting right up there on the fence that shines all these green and red lights out through the yard, and it seems to be working. The bird hasn't come back. So there's a few different types of these motion activated sprinkler systems. This is the one I chose. It's Yard Enforcer. Don't hurt them, just squirt them. It had pretty good reviews, and it has a good range. It can detect up to 40 feet and spray 35. Check out this video clip. So the areas where it looked like the heron could have gotten the bass the most were right there. The heron would walk in the water right there where Clyde's always hanging out, and then would sit right here on this rock. So I'm thinking about either getting that thing set up here, facing that way, or maybe right here, and kind of angled that way. And we'll use Milo as a little test subject, or Buster. Whichever one comes over first. We'll see if they get a little soaked. This one bad looking little dude here. Pretty easy installation. All you have to do is set everything up. I'm going to put it on always because regardless of day or night, I want it to detect. Then you set the duration, how long it sprays, and the range, how far out it will detect. Hook the water hose right here into the bottom, and bam, we're good to go. Alright, we got her installed. I'm about to do the first trial run. Might get a little wet. I don't know what this range is really set up like. I should be getting in the range, yep. Hey, yep, just got me just a little bit right here. Hey, that was perfect. Now I need to get Milo to run right along the edge right here, but I think it's got a little bit of a delay before it can cut back on. But here's where the bird would be walking up. We're about to see exactly what it would be like. Probably in about 3, 2, 1. Oh yeah. Now to get a bird out of here quick. Got good range on it. Hey, I'm happy. Alright, let's find out if it's going to work. It's not quite in range yet. We just barely missed it, Milo. That's what Milo thinks about the Yard Enforcer. Alright, here we go. Milo said I'm out of here. Ain't nobody got time for that. It did its job. Hey, I'm happy with it. That'll even run off raccoons, hopefully. Anything that might jump in the water and swim. Perfect. Now the next thing I'm doing is setting up email alerts if there's any motion around the pond. That includes our sprinkler head going off. And this Amcrest site has a pretty cool little thing here to where you can just set it up where you need it. That way I'm not getting alerts whenever the palm tree's blowing in the wind or whatever. So that's pretty cool. So now if the blue heron comes back, I will get notified and we'll see if our booby trap works. So the water's a little bit dirty because we had a huge flood come through. It seems like I'm saying that every week nowadays. But we're going to feed them some minnows. Little snacks. Alright, let's get one in there for Clyde. Woo! They fought over that one. Bonnie shot over there from the deep end. Look at that. Looked like Bonnie came and got that one. Alright, Clyde, you're going to have to speed up a little bit. Yep, Clyde got that one. Bonnie's shooting in from the deep end. Let's throw one down there and hurry. I got a big one over there. Yep, Bonnie's sitting. Bonnie's sitting right there where Clyde sits, so I'm gonna throw it right there. Man, they are battling out after every minnow. Bonnie got that one. Now it's headed back deep, and so this one Clyde. Oh, that's a pretty good little football matchup here. Clyde got that one. Good to see he's doing okay. Got him. Last one for Bonnie. Got him. Alabama's playing football today. Are you ready to say Roll Tide? Alright folks, the tide's fixing to roll, so I gotta wrap this video up, but hopefully we have solved our heron issues for a while so we can get on to more exciting videos. We wish you all a Happy New Year, and we will see you all next time.